Okay. Now, how many of you have heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul? Okay. I met Mark Victor Hansen in the mid-1990s, and he's been a mentor of mine ever since, and I've learned a lot. I'm sure many of you have heard of, what, 6 degrees of separation? How would you like to be one phone call, one email, one connection away from anything you need? That'd be pretty good? All right, so met Mark in the mid-90s, stayed in touch. Charlie Tremendous Jones is a famous speaker, okay? I'm sure you may have heard this quote. The person you'll become are based on the books you read, the tapes you listen to, and the people you surround yourself with. I never knew who said it, and underneath it said Charlie Tremendous Jones. I was in Orlando at the National Speakers Association a couple years back. And there was a book in his little bookstore. And what it said was, Billionaire, Secrets to Success. It said this person was born into poverty, had made minimum wage, was a high school dropout, he was a gang member, all this crazy stuff going on in his life, and he transformed himself into the National Entrepreneur of the Year, and he went from minimum wage to over $100 million a year in income, from riding the city bus to having his own Learjet. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty cool story. That's someone I would really love to meet. One person away. So Charlie's like, well, he's my guest. He goes, I'll introduce you. So I'm like, well, that's cool. So his name was Bill Bartman. And I only had a couple minutes with Bill. I'm going to give you the 2 questions that I asked Bill that one night, and I would write this down. So here's the thing I asked Bill. I said, Bill, what's the most important project that you're currently working on in case I or someone in my network can help you? So I'll repeat that. I asked him, what's the most important project that you're currently working on in case I or someone in my network can help you? I also asked him, I said, what are you most fired up about in life? What are you most passionate about these days? And from those 2 simple things, allowed me to build a relationship with a gentleman who used to be the 23rd wealthiest man in America. At a time, let me ask you this. If you had a relationship with a self-made billionaire where you can just pick up the phone and call just to get some entrepreneurial advice, would that help some of you?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all I wanted. I wanted to be in close enough proximity. Write that down. Proximity is power. Okay? I wanted to be able to call him up from time to time, and I try to add as much value as I possibly could. I added so much value, and here's what I did. Here's some simple ideas. There's tons of ways to add value to anyone that you come in contact with. Here's some of the ways I've been able to tap in. Number 1, you can give your time. I thought that thing with the 5 hours a week, that's brilliant with what you guys are doing. Okay? Send me the email. I'll promote that out to our list, okay, and get you some people. Second, leveraging your Rolodex, okay? Introducing people. There's people you're going to meet here tonight that other people didn't have a chance to meet, or maybe there's people in your Rolodex that you know that you can ultimately connect and add value very quickly. And last but not least, simple little ideas. A lot of times I'll look at someone's business card and I'll share with them how they can improve their business card very quick by putting a free report on the background, just anything, just to add value in the moment, okay? Here's what I did for Bill Bartman, okay? He told me what was important to him. He said he wanted to get 10 million people reach with his message, and he wanted to put 70,000 kids in Texas Stadium to talk to them about the importance of self-esteem and self-confidence. So here's what I did. Alex Mondoja, a good friend of mine in San Francisco, he's kind of like the Larry King of teleseminars. I happen to be the next week in Orlando. I happen to ask Alex the same question. Alex, what's most important to you right now? How can I help? Write that down. This is if you want to turn the conversation in a heartbeat. Have you guys ever met someone they're a little gruff, a little rough? If you want to turn the conversation in a heartbeat, just ask them, how can I help you? And that'll change the tone of everything. And that's what I did with Alex. Alex told me he was putting on something called Virtual Seminar Week. And I said, well, how can I help you? He said, I'm looking for a whale. And I said, Alex, Shamu's across the street at SeaWorld. I don't have a strong relationship with him. But what do you mean? What do you need? And he says, I'm looking for a whale of a speaker that appeals to entrepreneurs. Well, I said, I just met the National Entrepreneur of the Year, self-made billionaire. Would that be of interest to you? And I just met Bill. So I picked up the phone, got Bill and Alex on the phone, and Bill became the keynote for Alex Mondoja. The guy in the middle is a guy named David Fry, and really talented marketer. And I asked him the same 2 questions. I met him at another event. He told me what was important. He was looking for a DVD to appeal to entrepreneurs for the magazine that he had. And I said, I just met a National Entrepreneur of the Year. Let me maybe connect you up with him. Did that. How many of you have heard of Ron LeGrand, the famous real estate investor? And again, I didn't know Bill, I didn't know Ron, I didn't know David, and I barely knew Alex. And I saw Ron at a seminar. And by the way, the worst time to speak to a speaker is when there's like 300 people in line to go speak to the speaker. And I waited in line. I had 20 seconds, and I said, Ron, there's a guy that I want to connect you with. And I've connected Ron and Bill. And I connected those two, and they've both made millions of dollars together as a result. And you might be asking, that's all wonderful. Well, how do you go make money if you're connecting people all the time? Well, here's the bottom line. I have a book coming out later this year. Alex Mondozian has been known to take author and speakers and drive them up to the top of the New York Times just by himself because he's got 250,000 entrepreneurs. If you had a product or service for an entrepreneur, would he be a good person at a push of a button out to 250,000 people? David Fry is the very first person that exposed me to a large audience of people. 75,000 of his customers at one push of an email. Okay, and Ron LeGrand is very famous in the world of real estate. Has had me speak at a stage, and all this was a testimonial of Bill. But basically, I went from someone who wanted to build a relationship with a self-made billionaire to the fact that he hired me to handle strategic partnerships and strategic relationships. So that's a pretty interesting 180 degrees change. So, okay, now write this down. This is a difference. You do want to treat people all the same. Treat them nice. Not all relationships are created equal. Some people have much more influence in their markets. So I'm going to encourage you to focus on the relationships differently. Because I knew the influence of Bill and I knew the influence of Ron LeGrand. I invested more time, more resources, or whatever I could do to facilitate helping them. So are there people right now that if you knew you had the connection with them, it would mean a huge transformation to your business? So my question is, how much resources are you throwing their way to add value to things that they're doing? Okay? All right, less is more. I want you to start focusing on higher quality relationships. So figure out who your top 20 relationships are, top 30 relationships. Start investing more in there. Now check this out. This is a good friend of mine, Dave Steck. I know you're probably not going to be able to read this, but he's in the real estate investment business. But there's a lot of businesses like this. He found a property, and he literally, he reached out to 6 people. 6. And from those 6, one of them decided to go put the down payment on this commercial property. Another one of his 6 friends and business partners said, you know what, I've got the thing, I'll fix it up in Ohio. And another one said, hey, I'll move the property, I'll sell the property. So literally he had no money in the thing, and 90 days later, he was able to net about $1.3 million. And that's all through the, focusing on less is more, higher level relationships. All right. Here's a couple connection mistakes. Who knows what PFU stands for? I'll give you guys a CD. Now, Lean, I know you know it, but anyone who has not heard me speak knows what PFU is. Here's what I'll tell you. Most entrepreneurs have PFU. It is a deadly disease, and it is costing you an awful lot of money. Yes. So, did you win a CD already? No. All right, why don't you put it? So, here's the thing. How? You do. You have the information. So, why do robbers rob banks? That's where all the money is. Why do you think the top marketers follow up and stay in touch all the time? Through their blogs, through their newsletters, and all that stuff. Okay? All right. Now, here's what I want you to really ask yourself. How much is poor follow-up costing you? I mean, think about it. Stop, write it down. How much is it costing you? How many of you are going to go home with a ton of business cards today? And how many of you are going to actually do anything with all the people that you've met? What system, what tools, what technology are you guys using to stay in touch with all these amazing connections you guys just made? All right. This is an unbelievable group. Look at all these people that want to help you. Fabulous.